Okay, the first question is easy. How did all start for you?
Wow. It started when I was a little kid. I was 7 years old, and my uncle had one of the first recording studios in New York City. He was a famous engineer for Brunswick, and then he started his own studio called Harry Smith Recording. And the address I still remember was 2 West 56th Street. 2 West 56th. Yeah, 2 West 46th Street. And so I would go on a weekend, every weekend, I would go and spend the weekend with him. He was my father's brother. He didn't have any children, so I was like a son to him. So he would be recording, and I would go and watch, and he would have me clean patch cords and clean up, pick chip and all that stuff. And, I got to meet so many big stars when I was little, from Bing Crosby to the Andrews Sisters. So, Les Paul was his best friend,
Okay.
my uncle's best friend. So he was Uncle Les to me when I was little. So that's how I got started. I just, we were very poor. My mom and dad and my sister and I then when we were young, and he was doing very well. He had always had a lot of money, and he took me to all the great places to eat, and took me to the Madison Square Garden to see events and all. So I always wanted to be like him when I was little. So I always wanted to be a recording engineer.
Cool. What would you say were your great inspirational people, and perhaps who still are?
Well, so some of my greatest inspirational people, as far as musicians were concerned, when I was young, it was Woody Herman. Um, God, there were so many of them. Tommy Dowd, as an engineer, I worked with him for 8 years. He was a big part of my life, and my uncle, of course. Just all the great Les Paul. They were all so nice to me, and I just wanted to be around them all the time. I wanted to be in that. So they were the most inspirational. I love bebop. So all the bebop musicians were, when I was like 13, 14, 15, they were so inspirational too. I would go out and buy their records and just listen to their stuff all the time.
Okay. That's a huge question. How did technology changed over the years?
Oh my God. When I first started, we had a desk that had 8 inputs, so you could only use 8 microphones. And everything was done mono. And we were just had mono, thank you, mono tape machine. The Ampex 300 was like the first tape machine that we had to work on. Then, it went from mono to stereo, and then we started recording on 3-track, then 4-track, then 8-track. Then I remember when we got the first 16-track machine, we were all looking at it and we were wondering, what the hell are we going to do with 16 tracks? I mean, we thought, oh my God, there's so many tracks. What do we need that many for? So, it's just expanding. And then, of course, we were doing stereo, and then we were going into some surround stuff for the movies and things. That was a big jump. Another, and then digital came in. And most of the engineers hated digital when it first came in because it just sounded really terrible. But it slowly got better and better and better, and now I use digital all the time. I'm up at 192, or certainly no lower than 96. But it got so that it was quiet, and it sounded as good as tape, I think, now. And those were the big changes, going into 24-track tape machines, and then even the 48-track digital, the
Digital.
Sony digital machine. Those were the big ones. But it just kept getting more and more complicated. And I still try to do records as simple as possible. I still try to capture everything as much as I can all at one time. I try to get a good balance right away so that if I do have to mix or when I'm mixing, that it goes together easily. Those I think are the biggest things, you know. And I'm so happy that analog in a sense is still around, and that vinyl disc selling again. I love to play vinyl. I mean, I just love the way it sounds. I love the fact that you have to get up, turn the record over, and play the other side. I love all those things. And the other thing about tape machines is if you were overdubbing something, when you got done and you were going to do another take, you would have to go rewind the machine and go back. And so you would have a little break. Your ears would take a little break while the machine was rewinding. Now,
Yeah.
there's no
It's
rewind. It's bing again, bing again, and bing again. And so it can weigh you down fast.
How do you feel about the current music quality and musicians?
Wow. Well, the quality of the musicians, I think, is fantastic still. And, you know, it always was a great. And, you know, there are so many amazing players today, great bass players. Christy McBride, you know, John Clayton. I mean, these guys are as good as anybody ever was. So I think the quality of musicianship is great. I still prefer jazz. That's what I like to listen to. I did like a lot of the rock and roll. I'm not as crazy about some of the records that are being made today with all the effects that they're using and so many overdubs and the fact that vocalists don't have to learn how to sing anymore. You know, you tune everything and move things around, and so that bothers me a little bit. I think, you know, but I like the music today. Not as much as I used to like, as much as I like the old jazz records and things, but. And even the good pop records, the singers like Natalie Cole and you know, George Benson. I love that kind of stuff. And that was kind of an upgrade from the pure jazz to a modern jazz kind of sound. But, you know, I don't listen to much music on the radio because there's not really much except a jazz station maybe once in a while. So, yeah, I don't put it down, but I don't go out of my way to buy it. Okay. And I learned a lesson a long time ago. I don't ever tell my children what they can listen to and what they can't. Because I remember when I was little, I used to listen to bebop all the time, and my father would say, "How can you listen to that junk? That's junk, you know?" So I don't. And then I remember my one son, Nick, we were in the car, and he was in college, and he came home, and he said, "Do you ever hear of this guy, Dad?" He said, "This guy is great." He said, "We're just loving him at school." And he put it on. It was Miles Davis, the Blue Album. I said, "Are you kidding?" He said, "Yeah, we love this guy." You know, I said, "Yeah, he's been around for a while, and one of my favorites too." So yeah, I never got on the kids for playing certain kinds of music.
What did digital change in terms of quality?
Oh, wow. Well, I don't know. If you're talking about like digital microphones and things like that, I think they lose a warmth that we got from the analog, from ribbon mics and tube microphones or whatever. But I don't know. You know, the digital quality is so good now, and it's so much warmer than it used to be, and we were able to really capture the quality of what the musicians are playing. I don't think there's that much of a big change anymore. I think, you know, you can record a saxophone player with on tape and record it on digital at the same time. And today the quality is so good, it's hard to tell which is which.
So the other question is digital versus analog. You already the answer.
Yeah. Well, you know, I just did I did Bob Dylan record on analog, and I just loved it. It was so much fun. I just did a Neil Young record on analog, and I loved it. It was so much fun. The problem with it today is that a 2-inch roll of analog tape is almost $500. And, you know, with Dylan, we used 40 rolls of tape.
40.
40.
Wow.
At $500 a reel, that's a lot of money. And
Yeah.
most artists can't afford that. And a lot of the record companies won't put that money up. So with Bob Dylan, he pays for it himself. Neil Young pays for it himself because that's what they want. So, and I think that digital now is so good. It just gets better all the time. That the quality is terrific. You know, sometimes I miss a little tape hiss every so often, but not so much anymore.
Okay. You seems to have the full peace and passion. What drives you?
Oh, wow. What drives me is that my love for music. I get up. First of all, I don't feel I ever go to work. I get up, I get in the car. I'm going to work with somebody like Diana Krall or something. I get in the car, I say, thank you, God. You know, I'm going in, I lie to my wife every day when I tell her I'm going to work. Because I just love it so much, and that's what drives me. I'm at my happiest when I'm recording, you know, maybe a great group, guys like Christian McBride and Jeff Hamilton on drums, or Steve Gadd, you know. Yeah, I love it. And I love musicians so much. I love to hang with them, you know. They're just fun to be around. So, yeah, that's what drives me.
Would you say that analog is the ultimate medium?
Well, it was for a long time. I don't know if it is anymore, the ultimate medium, but it certainly was. And certainly I still love to listen to vinyls, you know. But whether it's the ultimate, God, I don't know. Someone else would have to answer that question. For me, I like it. I like both at this point.
Okay. How do you see the current trend in audio industry to the mass production of the music?
Oh, mass production of the music. Boy, that's a difficult question. You know, I love the fact that there are these little niche things going on with analog, where there, you know, there's little groups, you know, that get together and play analog records and tapes and discuss the quality of the sound, and they seem to be much more interested in the quality of the sound and what's going on and why things were done. I get more questions on what microphones did you use on the overheads, or what microphones did you use on the vocal, and you don't get that from the general buying public. They don't know, they don't care, they really, and I like that. I like the fact that people are totally really interested on how we get what we do, what effects we use and things.
What do you think future holds for audio and music?
Well, I hope it's, you know, I hope we always have jazz, jazz music, and I hope we always have really good singers that don't need to be tuned every bar and a half or so, and we have great musicians that can play a song down all the way without having to punch in 15 times. I love that. I love the fact that, you know, when I did the George Benson Breezin' album, 6 of the tunes, we did 8 songs. I think there are only 6 in the album, but we did 8 songs. Of the 8 songs, 6 of them were the first take. right down, first take, all the way. So, you know, it's just when you're working with that quality of musicianship and you hearing what it's going to be like, this way you're not saying, well, we're going to fix this and we're going to overdub that and we'll add this. And so you've got to kind of try to look to the future of what it's going to be like when it's happening right there in front of you. That I love, you know.
Last thoughts for our readers?
Last thoughts.
Last thoughts.
Oh, keep buying vinyl, please. Keep people who love vinyl in business. Support musicians. I never walk by a musician, ever, on a subway, on a street corner, ever, without putting a coin or a dollar bill in a hat. We have to keep doing this. You know, it's some of the best musicians come from those things, and that's how they get started. And I remember there was a great violin player, and I can't think of his name right now. I wish I could. But he went down in the subway in New York and started to play. Magnificent. Nobody gave him a nickel. Nobody cared. This is an incredible musician. People just, you know, in one ear and out the other. So when you see people out there scuffling to make a buck and make a living, and they're playing, no matter how good they are, how bad they are, help them out. You never know whether this guy is going to make a record that's going to, in a few years, going to make you very happy. So that's my last thoughts.
Thank you all. Thank
Oh,
you
you're
so
welcome.
much.
Happy to do it.
Thank you.
Cool.